something to look forward to every year within the Spirit. They're doing a lot to create representation here.
I participated in the Spirit for 16 years.
Being here is a childhood dream come true.
I just loved it so much that I decided to become a professional artist. And I was working as a commercial diver in Lake Washington, and I called my boss up and told him I quit. I'm a professional artist now. And then haven't looked back.
In the Spirit and the exhibition that we do at the Skoogweat House of Welcome annually in the fall really are the only two venues that are annual venues for contemporary Indigenous artists in the Salish Sea area.
The community seems to still be engaged, which is great, and it's growing and growing each year, which is amazing.
Yawaskano Gagwego, Sanoko ga Nikia, so Niboge Sanote, Ne Anondion, Anondoa got Nia Neko Ne again Yokwayo. Tono Wandi Anondoa ga Yoinza de Dana Nekneadi. Ona Newe, Bremerton, Washington, Lindley B. Logan Nikia, so Gunyo Okaha. So I introduced myself in my Onondaga Guyana language, people of the Great Hill. As Indigenous people, we see the world as having a spirit and a life force, as a living entity. And so as Indigenous people, we relate our relationship to the natural elements in the natural world. So the earth is our Mother Earth. The moon is Soikat Gakwa, our grandmother, the moon. The sun is Endika Gakwa, our older brother. The thunderers, Hodihod Zando, are our grandfathers. So we refer to those elements as having a life and having kinship to us. And so my portrait of a natural environment compositions are relating that Indigenous worldview concept. I always, with intent, push the boundaries of what people's expectations are of contemporary Native art. Some of my imagery was developed specifically when I was an industrial design major, taking art history classes. And so kind of streamlining a lot of my imagery, a lot of my objects, my deer animals, my bird in flight that's in the piece. I've also done a number of what I call lost and found recycled to art. And I do that because for us as Indigenous people, we utilized everything. So it's an Indigenous worldview perspective that is part of our Indigenous DNA. And so that's why I do the recycle to art, because it is transformation, and Indigenous people understand the concept of transformation.
My name is Mary Kelsey, and I am a fashion designer living in Seattle, and I specialize in slow fashion, designer-made, one-of-a-kind pieces, oftentimes inspired from my cultural background. I am Unanga from Alaska. That is way out in the Aleutian Islands. There was one in the Spirit year that there was not a fashion show, which kind of, I think, disappointed the community. And so they brought it back and they decided to bring me on. And so it's been, a blessing and an honor to work with them every year. Part of this collection is actually like a water collection. And so since my people, we come from the ocean, I have a waterfall gown and it's very shimmery and blue, and it just looks like waterfall just going down the body. It's great to just be around Indigenous women and sisters who are passionate about the same thing. We like to laugh, we like to joke around, but we are very serious about our work and who we are as professionals in fashion. Part of the movement that I'm in is in slow fashion, and I hope that the audience will take a look at what slow fashion is, you know, because all of our designers here today are representative of makers. We make all of our fashion. We're not outsourcing from a manufacturer or a factory to make these garments, and we want to show, like, locally there are people who make clothes.
It was like every single star aligned. People knew that I was good at it, and I just said, I'm not going to do it. If I was meant to sew, then it would come and find me. And then it did, through all the right people at all the right times. And I was introduced to Mary, the owner of Mika Clothing, and she said, I would love to have you. My middle name is Sunshine. That's a name that my grandmother gave me that is really important to me. So a lot of the times I'll introduce myself as Samantha Sunshine to honor my grandmother. I am Turtle Mountain Ojibwe, and I am from Tacoma. I was a ribbon skirt maker, and I loved it. You know, after not sewing for a long time and then sewing again to make ribbon skirts, it felt like riding a bike. You know, that muscle memory never really goes away. But I was designing on the side. I was drawing out everything I wish I could have made. I got to pull one of them out of the vault and actually make it this last March, and it kind of turned into a whirlwind. That skirt was a black pencil skirt with what I call fire fringe. It's all white fringe that's dip dyed in all of the fire colors. So when I twirl, all this fringe on my skirt spins around. These colors mean a lot to me because I think it represents the women that are around me, that have supported me and have taken care of me and talked me through a lot of things and are my mentors. Kind of pulled my own medicine from it for a long time, actually, and now it's kind of coming into a physical space, but just representing like the passion and power and the fierceness. I was raised by my Ojibwe mom, my Ojibwe grandma, and my Ojibwe great-grandma. My grandma and my great-grandma are boarding school survivors. They're pretty strong women. Always having my mom, my grandma, and my great-grandma, who's still alive, by the way. She's 88 and she's still got it. But I think that matriarchal part, it comes from that.
Koatse, Watu Shinome Ziwaitai. Hello, my Acoma name is Ziwaitai. My English name is Joe Seymour Jr. I come from the Pueblo of Acoma, and I also come from Squaxin Island here in Washington. When I'm designing Acoma design, I feel like my mom's looking over my shoulder. You know, she passed away in 2016. So, you know, to be able to do this style of work, you know, I think brings me closer to her. And, you know, I know that, you know, she would approve of the work that I'm doing. It just makes me feel like just connected to her even more, even though she's not here. Traditionally, Acoma pottery is 3 colors, white, black, and reddish orange. And that's primarily because of the resources of the land. Everything we got traditionally came from nature. But that's what all stems from for me is you know, getting back to the traditional colors that delineates Acoma pottery, that tells you this is pottery from Acoma. I think glass is really exotic. It's not a contemporary idea to work with glass. I mean, Romans did it, you know, 2,000 years ago. And, you know, Acomas were making pottery 2,000 years ago. So to take the idea of glass and bring in Acoma design, I think is just an amazing idea. We don't have to stay in the space that we're in because, you know, for 16 years, you know, I was doing traditional Post Salish pieces. But now I get to, you know, go down another road. I'm not kind of staying in the box that everybody expects me to be in. And I'm doing what I need to do to grow creatively. And that idea really resonated with the hiring committee. When I did my art talk in front of everybody who wanted to come at UW, you know, I talked about both Salish and both Acoma and what I wanted to bring from those cultures into UW. And I think it was just an amazing experience. And so, yeah, they hired me. And then to get the professor of Indigenous arts is a really prestigious position to have, and especially at a school like UW. Art comes from nature, art comes from the food we eat, art comes from the land we live on. And I want to encourage my students to look at those elements to create their own designs. Not just something that's Coast Salish, not just something that's Acoma, but something from where they come from.
Community is everything. Community is everything. Having a support system and building that community to give and receive, right, is one of our most important things that we follow to take care of each other, to take care of the land, to take care of everything around us, all peoples. I feel like the reason why I'm here is because I've had so many people supporting me within the last year of this journey, lifting me up and encouraging me and helping me go where I need to go. In exchange, I do the same for them because I want them to achieve their dreams. Community it's so important. Building that up and taking care of other people, it comes back around.